Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in this lovely world, in the sunshine with 35 centigrade here in Germany, which is pretty much too hot for me, having only two smart little vents which try to give me the illusion of cooling, and looking forward to an exciting, also hot topic, CRMKonvo, together with our guest, Lars Brodersen. Welcome, Lars. Welcome back again. Not Cotter, but Lars. Yeah,
Thanks for
there's
having
that lovely song I remember. Today's guest is Lars Brodersen, a longtime CRM practitioner, a team leader, an agile coach, author, and publisher behind Cardo Verlag. Cardo Publishing is his own publishing company, and Lars has been working in the CRM field since 2007, which is quite a time. He has led and advised international CRM rollouts and consulting role, and also an inside consulting role. And recently published the book Customer Experience CX, which is his 11th book, and also customer relationship management, practically in utilization. In German, it is customer relationship and customer experience praktisch anwenden, where he introduces the CRM Growth Wheel. I have an impression that it has a resemblance to the flywheel approach or a revenue engine, which I've seen lately. And it's lovely to have as a practical model, Lars promoting this as a model for transformation. Publicly and publicly, tricky word, publicly, he has also spoken, such as in the open, on conferences and shows and events, about AI-supported decisioning and CRM data quality, user adoption, and the need to balance automation with human judgment, which makes him the ideal guest to discuss practical guidance for the CRM CX success in AI times. Now, Lars, finally, welcome to our show. What have I left out? What have I missed in your introduction?
Nearly nothing, and it is way too much to mention. I should not be that much, or I'm not the guy like to be in the center of attention that much. I think what the only part that would be missing, because I really liked about that, I did a couple of projects with academic institutes, universities, for example, because this gave me so much in the last 10 years. I think it was up to 5. To hold lessons there, to interact with the students. So this was also something that I did, which I was really passionate about.
Wow. Having seen your latest books, having read through them, and having some quite good feeling about how it is set up and how much sweat and hard blood is going into those writing, and being a father of 2 kids, a dog at least, and having a life in Berlin is very much consuming and giving you a hard time as an author in your spare time as well. Now, having said that, if you look into all these AI environments, successful CRM CX initiatives are not won by automation alone, but by the combination, the combining of customer centricity, sound process design, and trustworthy data, and humans making the right decision at the right moments. That aligns more or less closely with that you are a big fan of a human in the loop is still needed, and from your perspective, mandatory. Now, if we go into this as setting the scene, I would like to shoot off the first question. If you strip away the AI hype, what is the real first principle of a successful CRM CX initiative in this year, in 2026? Lars, what's your opinion on that?
Unfortunately, I unfortunately need to say that still I have the feeling that a customer-centric culture is missing. I mean, we're in the year 2026, and this is a common phrase since, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 years that you need to have a customer-centric culture in place. And still we're at the point in time to say that this is for a lot of companies not existing. And what I also miss, to be honest, and this refers to the AI topic, the understanding how important data is, or what kind of data of my customer I really need. So, and I would really wish that this changed in the last 10 years, but at least from my observation, and maybe I have a strong opinion about it, but this is really still, or these are really still topics missing, to be honest. Yeah.
Fair enough.
What do you think is the reason for that this doesn't come?
My feeling is this is the feedback I got from reading when I read my book to audiences just recently, and I got the feedback, and this was also my feeling during writing, that there is such a complexity in it, because when I'm in my day-to-day business, I know, okay, we need to do this and we need to do that. But I mean, this book has now 500 pages, and I really, at a certain point in time, I made a map, which subchapter refers to which subchapter. So where do I link to information in another subchapter? And I ended up in a map with a lot of lines in there. And this really brought me to the feeling to understand how complex this must be for people not being in the game for decades now. And then when I introduce topics in meetups or whatsoever, I've a couple of times got the question, how should companies deal with that complexity? So, and I totally get the point. You can do everything always, and maybe, I don't know, but maybe companies really struggle with the complexity. They are eager to do it, but maybe they start at 1, 2, 3 points, but they miss maybe the ability to connect the dots, which even I have a topic, right? I needed for my book, I needed to have a map to create a map for that. So maybe this is an explanation. I'm not 100% sure about that.
Your latest books introduces something where you have been inspired on, and from another experience, and you call it the CRM Growth Wheel. What problems, aside of that you needed a map, a mind map, I guess, to write the book, to keep all the synopses together and the links in between and the cross-references for the chapters, what problem does this introduced model solve that classic CRM maturity models do not?
Yeah. My feeling is when I look at maturity models out there, not only for CRM in general, maturity models for digital transformation or whatsoever, most of them are visualized in a way where you have these steps, right? From you need to raise, or you should raise from level 1 to level 4, sometimes to level 5. And there is always this explicit meaning. They don't really say it, no consulting company, but what they quite often transfer to you is you can be the winner when you are on level 4 or 5. So you read a lot of times articles like, what do digital matures or mature companies do? And they are always on level 4 for sure, always. And then they are the winners in the game. And this always gives, I think, readers the feeling, I need to transform from level 1 to level 4. And this is, at least from the model I use and how I describe it, I always write in a book, you don't need to be on level 4. It would be enough if in the first instance you go from level 1 to level 2. And I make an example which hopefully explains this a bit. I just recently bought a new fridge 2 weeks ago, and I had the chance to buy. I bought this French door refrigerator with 2 doors, right? So fancy, edgy one. So, and then I had a chance to buy Model A of Company A, and the other one was a little bit more expensive, and it was Wi-Fi ready, and it had an app. And I asked myself, why should I have an app for my fridge? I have simply no explanation why I need an app for my fridge. I don't need it. So, and I'm pretty sure the company selling a fridge which has an app, is Wi-Fi ready, maybe they are more advanced with regards to maturity and creating products and whatsoever. But am I willing to pay for it? No. I buy the other
product. Why should they be more advanced? They are more advanced in grabbing your data than the ones who do not have an app.
Yeah.
And in catching your money, my friend, such as if they have probably supply chains established with grocery deliverers, which are more expensive than your discounters, such as that could be a model.
Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of advantages, but only if it pays out, only if I'm willing, only if there is a return on invest. And for example, I don't buy this product. So yes, it could be an advantage. It totally makes sense to get from level 2 to 3, or maybe they're on level 4, I don't care. But as long as the customers are not willing to pay for it, there is no advantage. It's lost money, effort, and whatsoever. And maybe this is maybe a strong opinion, but this should just be an example. And I always have the feeling when I read articles about digital maturity models, they implicitly say you should be on the highest level because this is where the winners are. So, and the other thing is that this growth wheel I used comes from the agile world, and you mentioned it already. I'm an agile coach, and what I like about the agile world is that they don't say, for example, in that area you should come from level 3 to 4, or in that area and whatsoever. They always think in systems and how everything is related to each other. And we just had it. I just try to imagine being on a maturity level of 4 in every area, and we just spoke about the complexities that comes with this. This would, at least in my opinion, way too much. So I think the maturity model I use here is basically the same like every other maturity model when we think about the foundation of Vico Giambattista inventing it 1700 whatsoever, hundreds of years ago. But I really make explicit in the book, you don't need to be on the highest level. Think about the complexities that comes with it. So, and I sometimes wish also for the other maturity models that they speak more about this and that you don't need to read articles. You do the right thing if you compete with the winners, and they are all on level 4. For sure, they are always on level 4. So this would be my answer to the question.
Okay, thanks for that. And what is in your personal goal sheet still existing when you bought the fridge? What were your points where you were looking for, where you have chosen a model B inside of the one with the high fancy app internet application approach? What were your points you were looking for?
Yeah, the highest value for me was simply more storage. I mean, we're having a very hot summer. I have a family, so the thing I need is storage. I need to put a lot of water in that tool. So, and this is what helps me the most, right? To have a lot of cooled water instead of having an app telling me you're running out of water. I don't know. So, and this is when we speak about customer value, right? This is the value I see in buying a new fridge. And I quite often get the point that they think, hey, we need to have the coolest fridge out there, but my problems are different. So, and I think this would sometimes really help companies. And at least from my perspective, the company selling this fridge without app and Wi-Fi readiness was closer to my daily problems, at least to me.
Yeah. Do you think that you are a normal customer or more an outlier?
The question was if I'm a normal customer.
Yeah, or an outlier, because that has to do a bit with customer centricity, right? So if you are the 90% case of customer, means the very normal one, then why the freak do they build an app?
Yeah,
if nobody wants it.
Yeah, I give an example. 4 weeks ago, a neighbor also bought a French door fridge. The weight of the fridge was, and it had an app, it was Wi-Fi ready, and whatnot and the ice cubes maker, and the weight was 180 kilos. 180 kilos. It took us 5 persons to put this fridge in their house. It was just 2 stairs, but 180 kilos. So the weight of my fridge was 110 kilo. So I would assume I'm closer to the normal buyer because I don't have such a huge, you can imagine the size of the fridge, right? So I would, I'm closer to a normal customer having 2 kids, a dog, a wife, right? Not eating too much. This is how I would describe it. But I mean, we know the game, right? There are customers out there who buy those fridges, right? With ice cube maker and 180 kilos. But when you then receive the fridge and you see what you got, you see what you bought, then I'm pretty sure he didn't set it this way, but I think he wished for another fridge in that moment when we all together tried to put it in his house.
Interesting.
Hopefully not the moment after. Once it's established.
Yeah.
If he then still wants another fridge, then something is wrong.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But you have to probably move things, cut off some of the furniture in the kitchen to make it fit into a formally established all-in-one kitchen where you have had older devices in. That is a challenge which regularly happens if you have chosen to buy a new electronic piece and put it into an existing environment, which is a bit similar, such as getting a new CRM system into an existing IT landscape. And I was wondering where you see the challenges there. And I was 1.5 years in the situation to buy a new fridge, and I had only one mantra. I wanted to have low energy consumption at a fair price, and I wanted also storage room in a dedicated way for a 2-person household. 3?
That are three mantras.
3.
Low energy consumption, cheap, and
enough storage.
Big. And enough storage makes 3.
Okay. Yeah.
Well,
so we are moving forward. Now let's jump into the challenging for the organizations if you go with a new idea of a CRM CX system into an existing IT landscape. You mentioned just when we started some of the old sins existing like 20 plus years are still around the corner. Data quality is one. What did all the AI bullshit, critical perspective from my end, give us in making data quality and data cleaning easier?
So the question is, what makes data quality and data cleaning easy from my perspective?
With the utilization of AI, did AI bring us here an advantage or progress?
Yes, I would say in an abstract way. I try to give an example. This is just my experience. I don't know how you experience. What I experience is that a lot of companies try to put AI on their existing data and existing projects, models, whatever. So they say, okay, with AI, everything is better. The earlier Bluetooth, everything is better with Bluetooth, now it's AI. So, and I don't know if you refer to it, but I once made this comment that it's not about data quality, it's about data quantity. So, and what I quite often see is they just try to put whatever AI on what they currently have, and then they experience poor results, and they are wondering why. And what then happens is that they start to analyze, hopefully, why do we have these bad results? And then they figure out that they have, like the old shit in, shit out process, they have poor data. And maybe this is the first point. I mean, it was always out there. You need to take care about data as a new gold, right? It was always out there. But maybe now they experience the first time in the organizational life that they expect direct results out of it. They don't get it, and now they are forced to take care about it. Where earlier it was always a saying out there, but they never really experienced that themselves. So this is what I see currently, that they are forced now really to take this serious.
That's because of the acceleration in processes that can happen, or what's the reason behind it?
What do you mean? Why the result?
Why does AI enforce data quality? Just because the it hits the fan a little faster, or quite a lot faster, or what are the main drivers behind it?
And I try to make an example. So I made this comment. I think more about data quantity instead of data quality. So, and what I experience is when AI should derive information from something and make something out of it. Sure, we need high quality data, but what does high quality data mean for AI? So, and when I think about what it means, then we have the topics that you need a lot of signals in it. You need to have a good signal to noise ratio. A lot of noise is a burden for AI. What you need to have is clarity in the text. What you need to have is a structure in the text. And I think most of the companies experience bad results because we are trained and used to be precise, to be on point. But I often have the feeling, and I try to make an example. Let's say I checks, I use the example out of sales visit reports. It checks a visit report created on Friday afternoon, right? The common practice, Friday afternoon, I try to rewrite something which is in my head, which happened on Tuesday morning, I don't know. So, and I just write a couple of terms, follow up, operational review, stuff like this. So, and what should AI make out of this? So, but when, for example, there's a whole transcript of what happened, and if I really put a lot of text in there, and AI would be able to figure out, hey, there is happening small talk in the beginning. Hey, there seems to be a friendship relationship between the two companies. And what I mean by that is, with more quantity, there is coming more granularity. There are implicit things which are not explicit. Explicit is we need to have a follow-up in 2 weeks. But small talk is, or the agenda that comes with the text is something implicit. And I think a lot of companies, when they use AI, they figure out that the results are bad. And then they figure out, yeah, it's because we are too short, too precise, no metadata in it. And this is really where a lot of companies can learn now. And I think this is changing the game, at least from my big, because it was always also what I just mentioned, right? You need to have data. Data is gold. But I think with quantity comes the quality the AI needs. Hopefully, I don't have a strong opinion of it.
That's an interesting one. First one I hear that. But this is because it's good at pattern matching and pattern recognition, yeah?
Yeah, I think at least this is my understanding. I include myself, I always thought it will be AI, summarize it, what is in there. But what I experienced it is so powerful. It can also summarize things which you do not see obvious. So there is always a lot of text always gives you a feeling there is an agenda behind it, or you see no, it's totally unstructured discussion, or so AI is able to identify things way more than we maybe thought, and I think this is what we experience, or which we never were able to. Only a couple of companies. So this is why I think with quantity comes more granularity, because you just put more information in it, more granularity, more clarity, no repetitive words used, operational review, stuff like this. So this is why I come to why I have this opinion.
Well, let's pursue that a little, please, because with quantity also comes ambiguity and even worse, contradictions.
Yes, could be. But for example, my opinion is that the less text you have, when you work for a company and you have a business model, you have specific terms you always use. So, and the less text you have, the less context you have. You use your terms because you write a visit report knowing that your product manager is reading it and he knows the terms. But AI can do more and needs more in order to figure out, for example, yeah, there will be an operational review in this area, but this is not giving any context. So, and this is why I come, and I know this could be a strong opinion because we always discussed for such a long time, AI needs data quality, and I don't doubt this. I just say, when we look into what is quality for AI, it comes with quantity, because more granularity, for example, because AI can do way more than we ever thought. It can imagine, it can figure out implicit things. It can compare an agenda behind what is transcripted compared to other companies and derive information from that. So the more you put in, and I totally get the point, right? If I would be next to a person and he's telling me for 1 hour his whole life story, I would easily get bored. But this we don't have for AI, right? It can listen for hours. So that's why I come to this conclusion. This is at least my experience.
How do we know that the AI doesn't get bored?
We don't know. Maybe
it's just far more patient than we are.
Yeah, maybe there's a day of revenge somewhere in the future. Hopefully not.
Yeah, the reckoning. Yeah.
The topic with CX, CRM projects, and running around, getting progress in this, and writing books about the topic for a lot of times, and seeing all the growth and all the return of the same problems, so that it looks like there is not the speed of learning one would have expected in the last 15 years. And AI is now giving a dramatic improve of collecting information. So your example could be described what you gave with the quantity of reading information between the lines. Now, how is AI helping a potential project team to get some advice on to mind the gaps, to mind the problems, to mind the areas where they can fail?
Well, I mean, in the end, when we see the bad results, but to be honest, I currently have the feeling that AI is not really helping here, because I see for a lot of companies that we use old patterns. We have total new technology, but still I see requirements out there. I see patterns out there. We use still in marketing, a lot of companies still using the AIDA principle. And maybe also here I have a strong opinion. I always criticized Net Promoter Score, and still I do. But so many companies referring to Net Promoter Score, and don't get me wrong, I totally get it. There is not much we have compared to the Net Promoter Score, so it's valid, but it has a lack of so many things. And I see a lot of companies still using old patterns, and yes, AI can help, but only if they experience and learn from the bad results that I have. But I see so many legacy patterns out there that my personal feeling is that AI can help companies which are good in adapting new patterns, and this will really fuel their profitability and success and whatsoever. But companies not being able to adapt, they really will have a hard time. I'm pretty sure. And this is what I mentioned in our talk before we just started. You see it for the publishing sector. You always, when you think about books, right? You really have a hard time transferring books into the new era, dealing with AI. A lot of publishing houses struggle to deal with that. This is really, really challenging, I think. And this is one of the most traditional business we have, right? So yeah, so AI can help, but I think only for the companies which are eager to learn, to adapt, and a lot of companies struggle. At least I see how I mentioned a lot of old patterns out there.
Where do you see the challenge in user adoption on one end towards the analytical perfection? If we go for that, we have cleansed and cleaned the data, and we have a chance to get some more analytical precision. Where is the right trade-off from your perspective between the user adoption and the analytical perfection?
I once made a comment in the recent past that, and this is in my work for Hellman, that we really strongly focus on user adoption. And I tried to make an example why I think user adoption is really a success factor. If you look at LinkedIn or on conferences, we have so often the point that user adoption is really still a topic, right? A lot of companies complain that the users don't like the software. So, and what we, for example, did at Hellman is, we would like, let's say, I give an example. We would like to analyze companies, so customers, right? Mm-hmm. And you need information for that. So, and now you can force the user to enter all the information in your CRM software, and then you put AI on it, and the AI will analyze everything. So, who will have a hard time? A sales rep entering all the information with tons of mandatory fields out there. So, and one of the idea could be that a sales rep just copy and paste the Impressum website of the company into CRM, not more. AI will run on that page and derive everything they get from that page. You automatically have the address, the VAT number, things you need for your daily operations to run, but you get a lot of information from the website. So, and I think it needs to go hand in hand, but if you make it easier for the sales rep in CRM system to enter the information, to make use of AI, to then analyze the information and not to force the sales rep to enter all the information, then I think the starting point was the user adoption of the system to support them and not to force them to enter information. And it automatically improves the analytical processes behind it. So, and what we also did, for example, for Hellman, and I'm very proud of that, is that we made it available to the users and they are able to switch it off. And we had strong discussions about it. Why should the users switch it off? And then I said, because there are people, not everyone likes the feature. Some people just, in that example, it doesn't maybe make no sense, but there are other features out there. But if, for example, we implement a bad feature, they will turn it off. And this gives us the feedback that we implemented a bad feature. And now we think about CRM systems, CRM system software out there for decades. Usually we implement things. And do we get any feedback on one or two features? We never get feedback. They simply don't use it or they circumvent around it, right? But if they give them the ability to turn it off, this is feedback we get. So we had some strong discussions about it. So, and this is not only that we support users more, we are on a tipping point of that they switch it off, they can switch it off, which gives us feedback if it's a good or bad feature. And they really see, but this brings us in a position we really need to think, is this a valuable feature for the users? Because they can switch it off. They can tell us, no, this is a bad feature. And by starting with this focus more on user adoption, it automatically can improve, for example, AI, CRM, CX, analytics whatsoever. And sometimes you have a bad experience. Sometimes you deploy a bad feature and they will tell you, yes, this can happen, but it improves the process of delivering features in the software, not forcing the users, but supporting them more and deriving better results. So this is why I come to the conclusion that laying more focus there and sometimes go unusual ways could really help to improve everything.
Means it's probably a fair statement to say that there is no trade-off between user adoption and an analytical rigor in the system.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, as I mentioned, sometimes we deploy bad features, but anyway, what would be the other result? We would force them to enter the information, and then we have our analytics, but they are bored. So, yeah, I think this was in just a short sentence wrapped together my whole example. Yes, I would say so.
How to get both then?
What
Because
do
I
you
mean, yeah, the user adoption, usable features, plus the analytical rigor that one needs as well, because without this rigor, you can't or hardly can control your sales service marketing processes.
Yeah.
You know that management adage that says, well, what you can't measure, you can't control.
Yeah, so what you mean is, and hopefully I get it right, sometimes you have no chance to focus on user adoption. Sometimes you need to force the users to enter the information. If that is what you mean, I'm totally on your side.
Not necessarily. Probably one can get the data from somewhere else. So it's not like, well, my 10 fingers are entering the data, but might be a different way, a smarter way to get there.
Yeah, I totally get the point. And I read I think there are some studies out there from Boston Consulting Group from 2025. Yes, of course, we can buy third or second-party data. And partially, I totally agree that this maybe makes more sense to buy the data instead of building features or asking the users to enter them. This is just a general pattern I would recommend to focus on user adoption, because zero or first-party data always is better than buying data from out there. But yes, there are exceptions. This is not the wisdom pattern you can always sure.
Where do you put the boundary between, well, the good data, which is first or zero party, and, well, second, third party?
Well, I think if I never thought about it in that detail, but I think if you are able to buy data out there which is precise, where you know it belongs to this company, maybe it's worth to buy it. But sure, this is data everyone has. If it's data only you can have from your relationship with that customer, I think then you should always try to collect the data yourself. I mean, I just don't know, have an example, but I think the differentiator is you can do both, but third-party data is available for everyone. It's not specific. It's maybe random or generic, and zero and first-party data is always the one which I would go for. And sure, if it would force the users to enter too many information, it totally makes sense to buy them. But when I think about the license cost, what it costs to buy that data, I would get if some organizations ask their sales reps to enter the information instead of buying them.
Yeah, ZoomInfo and Glean and Co are not exactly. Other ones are they are not exactly cheapskates. At least from a charging point of view.
Alignment in these days. Sorry.
Go on.
Alignment is a very tough topic, such as the co-working of marketing, sales, and service to the benefit of the customer. And I was wondering, because there are these 8 transformation pillars which you have in the book, And what should marketing, sales, and service each contribute to one shared CRM CX framework in AI times? And what should none of them try to own alone? What is your opinion on that?
Let me think. What I face quite often is that they don't use the data they all have in common, the company data. There it starts already, right? You have a company and you have duplicates in every CRM system out there. Services using their own company account, and CRM marketing is using theirs. And still we have the lack of information transfer. And I not only mean the old story between the marketing and sales handshake, what is a hot lead and what not. This is still out there. So, and the other question, what is data they should own for themselves? Well, am I correct?
No, it was on the shared CRM CX framework you are describing in the Growth Wheel book, such as if you're working together in one framework, what you should do together and what you should not do to try to make it good alone. And is specifically under the umbrella of rising AI with its abilities and challenges.
Well, I mean, it depends a bit on every company, but for example, I try to make an example. I think sales, let's take sales and service. They have different possibilities to receive customer feedback. So, and what I quite often see is for sales, I quite often experience a lack of receiving customer feedback. There are so many possibilities to receive back, but in sales, quite often it's, I know my customer. That's it, quite often. So, and yes, then we have the key account manager, but even there, I sometimes see this kind of pattern. And then we have, for example, for service, we also have a lot of established ways of receiving feedback. And I think it's totally valid that sales and service, as examples, have their individual ways of receiving feedback, but they don't share it. So it's totally valid to receive different feedback in different channels, but they don't share it. And what I give an example from a company I earlier consulted a couple of years ago. Sales and service were able to see the emails of each other. So it was really what everyone would wish for, that if service sent out an email to the customer, that sales is able to see it. To be aware, for example, next visit, sales rep sees, okay, there was a recent complaint or whatsoever. But something happened nobody had on the radar, which was, I mean, happens so often, but nobody in the project had it on the radar. When the customer was not satisfied with the surveys, where do they complain? At the sales rep. So the next visit, the sales rep is on customer side and they complain. Or what they very often do is they forward the email to the sales rep and say, hey, how is your service threatening me or treating me? So, but if you track the emails, the service department can see the emails. So, and this was very an eye-opening moment because this happens often and nobody thought about it. So I think there are totally valid different channels of receiving feedback, and it needs to be shared more often. And what I experience sometimes, there is this point in time where a share is maybe not that helpful. The customer needs to have the possibility to complain at the sales rep about service not being in the loop, but the technology was able to bring everything together, what we usually wish for, right? Everything should be together. So this is, if today I can laugh about this story, you can imagine being in that project at that moment, nobody was laughing. Because this was really a strategic topic in that moment. So, but I mean, this can happen every time, right? So sometimes you wish for something, and when you get it, you fear it. So yeah.
You have the as you mentioned, some unexpected experiences also play nicely with the 8 functional areas of your growth wheel. Which are you suggesting that leaders should assess those first? Just giving the example of the missing communication and transparency, and which of them are most often underestimated by those leaders?
Okay, I try to answer the second question first. My personal feeling is that process description is one of the underrated areas, because I saw so many companies out there not having a process description, not at all, no process descriptions at all. So what gives the orientation, how the employees should react, should work, right? So, and I also saw companies really having great processes down to level 5. So they really started on strategic level 0, and it stripped it down to, or detailed it down to level 5, which in the end turned out it was too much. It was too precise. There were too many updates on it. So it's hard to find the sweet spot for sure. But I see a lot of companies having no processes at all. This is, from my perspective, is mostly underrated, because I imagine it this way: you have a strategy. This is the pattern how the company should act. This is the way you would like to go. You describe it in processes, but if you don't, everybody interprets the strategy and is doing the things they would like to do, what they think is good, maybe for them, maybe for the company. And this is where processes give the structure. And I see a lot of companies not having it. Nevertheless, I would not recommend every company to start with processes, especially, I don't know, startups, for example. You have this one big customer. You should maybe not start directly with processes. Maybe you're so close to the customer that you, in that moment, don't need it. But this was definitely one thing while writing the book, which really worried me a little bit, because I initially planned a book with 250 pages. This was when I started. 250 pages. It turned out it has now 530 or whatsoever. So, and while writing, I asked myself, how do a reader know where to start? Are we still in that area that a reader now reads 530 pages from start to end, and then starting in their company? So I really thought, no, nobody will do this. Nobody can do this. So, and then I did 2 things in the book. The first thing is, I wrote very early in the beginning, mid 20, page 29, 26, I guess 28, basic questions everybody can ask themselves. Make an example. Do you have a customer-centric strategy in your organization or not? And if you have it, is it lived or not? If you can answer this question, for example, no, we don't have it, or yes, we have it, but nobody lives it, then maybe it's worth to dig into chapter organization. And what I also did is, every chapter has sub-chapters. For example, in organization, I have the sub-chapter employee. And what I write in the book is that maybe you go on the first page in the sub-chapter employee and just read for yourself. This takes, I don't know, 3 to 5 minutes max. What could I know? What can I know as a beginner in the area of CRM and CX that would help me to improve things? What is my knowledge level? So some kind of assessment. And when I read it for myself, I get the feeling this isn't happening at all in my company, or I experience, well, I'm aware of this. I'm not on beginner's level. Then maybe you don't need to start with that subchapter. So this is the 2 ways I try to grab readers on their hand and to guide them through the book to figure out where can they start, because I think it's a way too complex topic to do everything and to read this book from start to end. No chance at all. This is a failure I did for my first book, because I was used to read books fully, and this is how I wrote my first book. And then I got the feedback from readers. Most of them stopped somewhere in the middle, because it was just too much. The complexity was too high, too many information. So, and this is what I changed with this book. Why did I experience, oh, okay, the page is doubled. I need to do something.
No, we are not in fiction. We are not in Harry Potter or Tom Clancy, as you mentioned. We are in a focused, let's say, special topics writing a write-up, such as a guide. And if you make it useful as a guide, as you described, such as what is your pain, what is your problem, jump in there, find some answers, and get curious to dig in more in depth and find some hooks where you can go forward on. Which are the ones you love most?
The books,
starting in your own book, in your recent own book, where you say the practical starting point. Where would I jump in, or what is one of my favorite jump ins?
My personal, to be honest,
Yes.
the most challenging chapters, which is customer satisfaction and customer value. And I know that I've wrote the most pages about these two topics because I think they are really, really challenging. But on the other side, and this is why these are my personal favorite ones, I barely see companies really having a clue what does a satisfied customer means to them, or asking the right questions. And I haven't seen a company until now, to be very honest, really having an understanding of what the Kundenwert, the value of the customer really is. I know there are a lot of companies out there telling, we do this for you. We can, the value of the customer, and this is the basic principle, and we do ABC analysis and whatsoever. But this is just the basics. So I'm personally most interested into these two chapters because they are the most challenging one, and I really only barely have seen companies being good in it, to be honest. So this is why I like them. But I would not suggest the reader to start there because these are the most challenging ones. So I really would start with something different. Organization, I think, is a good topic, to be honest. This is really where a lot of companies have a lack.
Well. Looking at the hour, looking at the clock, we come to one of our highlights, which Thomas introduced to our guests and to former CRMKonvos. It's called the lightning round. It's not the shoot and forget, but it is firing a question, and you have the opportunity to answer fast by first guess, like in these fantastic Born Identity things. What comes to your mind first, go for it. Now, okay. Thomas, would you like to start off our lightning round?
It's kind of fire the question and forget the answer.
No. Sorry, no.
Okay, then let's make it a memorable answer. So, if you're looking at metrics, CRM metrics, that they are frequently collected on executive dashboards. So which one would be the one that you would scrap from it tomorrow?
Which one would be the one?
The one that you would scrap from the dashboard tomorrow. Just remove.
Yeah, I mean, we have customer effort score, customer satisfaction, CSAT. I would scrap net promoter score, to be honest, because I mentioned already, I'm criticizing this pattern since 10 years.
Consistent.
Yeah. One AI use case in CRM CX that is overhyped right now.
That is overhyped right now. This is a challenging question.
Which one is not? That's probably the right answer.
Well, Now I have the answer. I think overhyped is writing answer emails in marketing or in service. This I think is really overhyped because AI can do so much more. It's so powerful, and I personally write my own emails, and we have knowledge base articles for that. So this is, from my perspective, an overhyped AI trend, to be honest.
Okay. Next.
Now, what's the one thing that every CRM project manager must get right before touching AI?
Bringing the requesters to the point where they not request output, but outcome or impact. So really focus, because it starts with the requirements. They need to learn to focus on value, not on deliver the new feature. This is, I would highlight.
Okay. One signal that tells you a CRM initiative will fail unless leadership is intervening or helping or assisting and jumps in.
One signal that indicates a CRM project failure.
You're in trouble, right?
Yeah, when I hear the term Big Bang, this is directly the indicator that something is going wrong. Yeah.
I typically get nervous if change management gets moved past. Yeah. Now, last but not least, so there's this company that would like to start their first CX CRM Growth Wheel assessment. What would be the one piece of advice you'd like to give them?
Accept that you will 2 steps forward, 1 step back. You really need to accept this. It doesn't matter where you start, it will always be successful because customers will recognize it when you improve, but be easy on yourself. Don't try to be the best in everything, especially in CRM and CX, you will have no chance. It's way too complex. This would be my advice.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. This was very interesting.
Cool. And that's been it for today. So thanks to you for being here. Thanks for being here to you this way. Also, thanks to the audience who still is in there. At least there's a counter. Also, thanks to the trolls that commented a little left and right, which we didn't bring into the screen. Yeah, and we hope that you can visit again next week when we are talking to. Are we talking to Clint Oram next week again?
Yeah.
Which is not a bad thing.
We had an arrangement that every quarter we would like to have some chit-chat in his former role.
I've been in Germany for too long. The quarter's already gone. Okay. Well, thanks a lot to everyone, and see you next week.
Bye.